Hi, this is Randy from LazyMed Inc. and Medical Conspiracy Radio. I wanted to make this video to show something that I think is kind of interesting that I've noticed, and also to verify something that I saw a few days ago on a video from federaljack.com talking about how his website was being attacked. I'm going to show you another way that the website was attacked. First, a little bit of background on LazyMed. For those who don't know, some of you I'm sure do, that over the last 3 years LazyMed Inc. has been under an attack by the medical establishment, by the alternative nutrition-based community, by the courts, and by a small team of hired bloggers. And they are a team. I'll show you proof of that later. First came the blog war and the bogus lawsuit war, happening concurrently, coordinated, working together. Then the suppression of witnesses war, and finally the Google war. Lots of you have seen this graphic already. It's on the front page of medicalconspiracy.com. It's just a visual aid showing this attack against LazyMed and how it began in Arkansas, with the UAMS Medical Center overlapping the Arkansas Medical Elite establishment. UAMS being basically the first place that Dr. Carpenter approached decades ago with her ideas, which were, by the way, met with comments like, "Oh, we can't make money with this, and if we treat cancer this way, how can we justify everything that we've done up to this point?" Then UAMS spent about 2 decades trying to extract details out of Dr. Carpenter for the leash therapy by sending, you name it, interested parties, people posing as patients, anything they could send to gather information and find out what piece by piece little things that they could find out. Yet one of these same people that Carpenter approached at UAMS when she first went to talk with him would have his name signed to a research paper much later, a scholarly article, if you will, that resulted in his team winning a research grant in 2009. This research grant was awarded for a paper that basically plagiarized leash therapy. Imagine that. And the grant was supplemented by grant matching funds partially created by Representative Will Bond. This scientific paper was published in 2009, in the same week that Will Bond himself, now no longer a state representative but a private attorney, filed a lawsuit against Dr. Carpenter for what he called fraud. This is all explained on this page, medicalconspiracy.com, conspiracyproof.html. Now, for a moment, back to this chart. The mole doctor that's mentioned up here, that's just for lack of a better name to call him, he worked for LazyMed for just a few months, but in that time he was caught trying to slip out the back door with patient records, and later was caught trying to negotiate a deal with a medical equipment manufacturer based on his alleged, but really stolen, idea for a new kind of laser. Of course, Dr. Carpenter fired him for that, and the very next day the state of Arkansas sent officials to her office. And with the excuse that this doctor was going to be investigated, they told her that they needed copies of everyone's medical records who he'd had contact with. From this small group of patient records, which included contact info, patients that were in the healing phases were targeted and persuaded to believe that Carpenter's leash therapy had done harm to them, and that they would likely die if they didn't get chemo. Some were convinced, some went for chemotherapy, and as a result, unfortunately, some died, either from chemo or morphine. Then 3 people close to these targeted patients, 3 people were hired to spread negative propaganda about Dr. Carpenter, blaming the deaths on her leash therapy treatment rather than the standard medicine where the blame should have been. Ah yes, it's Pinocchio. The first of these attack pages was this one, lazymedinc.net. Of course, it didn't look anything like this when it was new. The first version of this page was a screenshot of Dr. Carpenter's old website. When the page first appeared in 2009, LazyMed was still in a period of growth, had a tiny website, and the website only had one .com domain. And this is how the .net domain was obtained without Dr. Carpenter's knowledge or permission. Like I said, it was just a screenshot of the old website with a PDF included of a very misleading essay by the husband of the targeted patient. It also had a copy of the lawsuit filing in PDF form. And the strange thing about this, the lawsuit had not even been served on her yet. The way that Dr. Carpenter found out there was somebody trying to sue her was by accidentally finding this page. There's no way that he could have known. The only way he could have known about that lawsuit was if he was put up to make this page by Will Bond himself. And that's what we believe, and that's what I know. The next piece of attack media that came out, oh yes, there she is, Princess Michelle. Came from this person, Michelle Wolven, also known online as Shut Down LaysMed Inc. We have a whole page about her. Read. A lot of good stuff. A lot of stuff you need to know. You look up LaysMed Inc., you're going to read Michelle Wolven everywhere. You got to know who she is. You got to know what she is. Michelle Wolven has been a professional pro-life activist for over 2 decades. She also sells nutraceuticals that have been marketed as cancer cures, and the company that makes them got into some trouble over that. You can read about her on this page, michellewolven.com, or you can go to medicalconspiracy.net/wolven.html. She was a close friend of another targeted patient named Cindy, in honor of whom 6 attack pages against LaysMed Inc. now exist on the web. Her widowed husband was also used as a witness against Carpenter in the bogus lawsuit. And here we have, what was her name? I cannot think of her name, I'm sorry. Another friend of Michelle's and Cindy's, who made this anti-LaysMed video shortly after Michelle made hers. And this blog, which was created by another friend of Michelle's and Cindy's. This particular blog here, the third attacker, simply goes by the name of Alchemik, which is the Russian word for alchemist. Yes, I'm sure I didn't say that right. His father was one of the 3 murdered patients mentioned earlier. He was also the patient whose files the mole doctor mentioned above in the chart was trying to sneak out of Dr. Carpenter's office with before she fired him. Aside from the other stories that on the mainstream news, which had come out at the same time, all focusing on this lawsuit, many of them mentioning Michelle Wolven and her widowed friend by name, a couple of cancer alternative website owners also contributed to the attacks by offering a safe harbor for these same 3 attackers on specially LaysMed dedicated blog pages that they had set up in their websites. These website moderators, particularly Colonel Bill Henderson, owner of BeatingCancerGently.com, and Errol Durfee, moderator of HealthSalon.org, welcomed the attackers and allowed them to post anything they wanted on their blogs under as many aliases as they wanted, and later went so far as to delete comments made by supporters of Dr. Carpenter when it got out of hand. Henderson also allowed them to use multiple names, even though I know for a fact that he has IP sniffers on his website. The reason I know this is because my IP was banned there, along with a few others that I know of. So there you have it, the main base of the attack pages used by this team. If you still have any doubt at all that this is a team, please go back to michellewolven.com or, like I said, medicalconspiracy.net/wolven.html and scroll down to the bottom of the page. You scroll down to the bottom of the page. You see this? It says, I want them to be as uneasy and suspicious as possible. Let them fear everyone they meet as a possible spy. What this is, an email which Wolven sent to a large group of email contacts all at once, on the very day before court depositions began for this lawsuit. One of her contacts forwarded the email to Dr. Carpenter to warn her of what was going on. So this is the background of the story, and oh yes, you gotta read this. You really have to. I'm not going to sit here and read the thing on the video, but it's really interesting. It shows what an organizer she is. It just shows a lot anyway. But that's the background of the story. But it's necessary in order to show what has happened on Google and how all of these so-called top search results are connected. On March the 15th, 2012, this article, "Cancer Industry Continues to Demonize Innovation," by Popeye, appeared on federaljack.com, and it was later picked up by activistpost.com and wearechange.org. According to what Popeye told Dr. Carpenter later on the radio show, before this article was 12 hours old, Michelle Wolven had already attempted to attack it with her usual slanderous comments. That's what she does. That's what she's paid to do. One day after this article was published, it was already showing up on page 2 of Google search results for LaysMed Inc., but not yet ranked for search word Antonella Carpenter. Here we can see it at number 16 on Google. This is page 2, hit number 16. The next day, the 17th, the article is 2 days old. The original Federal Jack article is at number 19, and the repost, which was on wearechange.org, is at number 17. And this is for search word LaysMed Inc. Later that same day, March 17th, after more viral traffic and more reposts across the web, we found the original Federal Jack article on page 1 of Google search for Antonella Carpenter. It was at number 10, but it was still showing up on page 1. Then that same day, we checked back in the evening, and look what we have here. Behold the power of viral traffic. The Federal Jack article is number 1 on Google for the search word Antonella Carpenter. But you know this can't be allowed. There's a team out there working for the medical elite, earning a paycheck, watching, waiting, ready to do whatever it takes to make sure that their attack pages, and of course the negative pages from the mainstream media relating to the court case, remain in top Google positions. So here we are back on Google live. Let's do a refresh here. Make sure we're getting current information. Well, what happened to Federal Jack? Don't see him here. Don't see him here. Martian Mama. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, you remember her. Michelle's friend, again. Well, where did Federal Jack go? Let's see. Ah, there he is, right there. At the top of page 2. See how that works? It was at top of page 2 yesterday. That's all they wanted to do. They just wanted to get it off page 1. Out of sight, right where they want it, you see? And the top Google search result for the name Antonella Carpenter since the day that Federal Jack article briefly made it to number 1 has been the Martian Mama blog that a couple of weeks ago was not even anywhere in the rankings and still has no new content on it whatsoever. I've got to tell you, I've been watching the search engines for years, and the only way that I even knew of the existence of the Martian Mama blog was because a couple of years ago Michelle Wolven put up some links to it on her video page, and it was never ranked until it just came out of nowhere here recently. Before that, it was still there, but it was around page 4 or 5. And like I said, no new activity at all in 2 years. Black hat SEO. That's all it is, plain and simple. They got hackers working for them, pushing things down. For over a year, a solid year, we watched these attack pages come from page 5 to page 4, climbing in the rank, some of them getting 50 new comments a day. I won't even begin to touch topics here. That's a whole nother enchilada. You want to talk about a controlled scam? Topics? They banned anyone who tried to post comments, positive comments about Dr. Carpenter. They banned me on the very same day that I sent their admin a copy of Michelle's group email that I showed you earlier. Let's see, what else have we got here? Martian Mama, Medical Conspiracy, LaysMedInc.com, LaysMedInc.com, Leash, Fox 23, lawsuit, Bill Henderson, slander, ftpcontent.worldnow.com. This is actually not a bad read. This is on page 1 of Google. What this is the original response, the original answer from Dr. Carpenter from March 2009 to the filing of the lawsuit. This is her first response to the lawsuit, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you right here, but you can find it on Google, and I suggest you do, because it says some very interesting things about the plaintiff of this lawsuit. But what I'm saying is this: there's a huge amount of money being poured into this attack, and has been for going on 3 years now. Paying bloggers. Obviously they're not blogging anymore. They've got black hats pushing their old pages, keeping them up on the top. SEO hackers, whatever you want to call them, to just to make sure that you don't see the truth when you get on Google and you search the names LaysMed Inc. or Antonella Carpenter. And when you do see these attack pages, what you see over and over is the same names, over and over and over. That's interesting. See if we can enlarge it a little. Yeah, you see that? That's my car. Not only did money go into paying bloggers, people like Michelle Wolven went to the extent of contacting our neighbors in Oklahoma, just outside of Tulsa, where I'm sure these neighbors themselves are being paid something just to be willing participants in this. One day last year, Michelle told us on a blog,
"I'm going to contact your neighbors and tell them that they have employees of a serial killer living on their block."
Then about a month later, on the same blog, she said,
"Hey Randy, the neighbor said she heard yelling in the garage. You people sure are loud. Why don't you move to the country?"
Then the next week, oh, that's a very good one right there. Yeah, I like that. See what a wonderful neighborhood I'm in? It looks nice. The houses look nice. People are, I'm not even going to tell you what I think about the people. But then the next week, a neighbor came to my door screaming,
"I know what you are! The whole neighborhood knows what you are!"
"Oh, really? Okay. So, they know what exactly?" "Oh, that's right. They know what Michelle Wolven told them." If you think this sounds like some kind of bad movie, or at worst some kind of COINTELPRO-esque spy operation, well, I'm right there with you. I'm living it. I've been living it for the last 3 years. And 2 days later, I had 2 other neighbors show up at my door together, with one guy doing the talking, the other one just standing there looking tough. But he was trying to start a fight. He was trying to get me to take a swing. He had a stack of paper, and it was a printed copy of the Medical Conspiracy Facebook page. He was shaking this stack of paper in my face and saying,
"You don't have the right to talk about this stuff."
The last time I checked, this was not the damn Soviet Union or Nazi Germany, even if we do have hired out Stasi living next door to us. Stasi, I like that. Thanks, Popeye. That was one of Popeye's. But I'm telling you all of this because for all of this time, money, and effort to be going into the systematic demonization, victimization, harassment of someone who simply dares to defy the status quo and is actually helping people, has lots of positive results, there has to be a good reason. So you people can hire all the hackers you want. You can go ahead and fill up Google with your attack pages, which will still always come back to the stories about the same 3 people that were murdered by the oncology establishment's act of false flag terrorism. You can go ahead and ban everyone who tries to speak out in Dr. Carpenter's defense, disqualify them, suppress all the evidence you want. You can disqualify all of her witnesses. Even an MD surgeon who testified before the court that her breast cancer was cured. Hello, that really happened. You can discount all the success stories that you want. You can even try to deny that these videos, that these radio interviews that we saved into YouTube videos are not real patients. Say that they're actors. Say that they were paid to do whatever, to come on and say what they said. Go ahead. Deny the truth. Keep denying it, because it's not going to change the truth. You cannot and you will not change the truth. And you will never, ever change the truth about this woman. And you will never, ever change the truth about this woman or this man who had testicular cancer. These are patient-owned blogs. Patient-owned, Michelle. That means you and your crew are not welcome. A new day is coming. I'm sure you're going to work as hard as you can with your little crew to make sure that these pages don't ever see the light of day on page 1 of Google. But they're nonetheless the truth. And people are hearing the truth. Finally, people are hearing it. Mr. Bond, Judge Moody, Michelle, you can't hide the truth forever. Whether you like it or not, we're back, and it's cancer's turn to die.